Mr. Perry, where exactly does this U.S.-Iran-Israel stand? If we see this breakthrough given green light from President Trump, where is Israel? Do we know if Israel has agreed to these terms like U.S. as well?
I don't think anyone's asking, is there? I mean, Israel's not in a position to impose anything on the United States. And it's clear that the Trump administration is not eager to resume war. I mean, he threatens like a house on fire, but he's clearly not eager to resume the war. The establishment in the U.S. doesn't want that. The public at large doesn't want that at all. The economic ramifications, not just the price of oil, but beyond, are clear. And so we're looking here, I believe, at a scaling back of the American-Israeli ambitions from the beginning of the war. And I suspect that where this narrative is leading to is some version of an agreement on the nuclear file that resembles Barack Obama's JCPOA from 2015 that Trump rather idiotically walked away from and is now probably quite eager to resume. But if you zoom back even further, Mr. Ahmadi speaks of normalization and of peace, but the truth is that not just Israel, but the U.S., and I believe much of the Western world considers Iran's regime and its actions to be illegitimate far beyond the nuclear matter. I believe Israel may fear the missiles more than the nuclear question, and the proxy militias around the region are such an affront, such an arrogant aggression delivered to the Arab world, harming so many of Iran's neighbors that I don't know how one can speak of peace. I mean, those proxy militias are an act of war, and Israel and the U.S. had hoped for a capitulation by Iran that would include the missiles, the nuclear program, and the militias, and they even dared hope for democratic reforms, for a scaling back of Iran's horrific and brutal murderous dictatorship. And we see that really none of that is on the table at present. And once this is all over with and done, it'll be a matter of perception and spin. Trump will try to claim that the deal is way better than anything Obama achieved, and it doesn't have to be true. It just has to be believed by enough people. And Iran, I think, more truthfully, will be able to say, or rather the Iranian regime, that look, we absorbed a full-on assault by the greatest military force that humanity's ever known, plus Israel, with our incredible intelligence. Yeah, I mean, a lot of damage was done, but the regime survived. And I fear that is true enough, and if it's backed up by financial windfalls in form of assets unfreezing and sanctions ending, as Iran demands, and who knows, they might get it, then this will be devastating for the Iranian opposition and for any hopes by the youth of Iran that they might one day get to live in a country that's not a murderous theocracy. So as I look at this landscape, I'm optimistic that a deal will be done, but I'm not necessarily all that optimistic that this is a good outcome. In other words, yeah, there will be a deal, I think, but I think it's most unfortunate that the war ends with a strengthening of the regime, which looks to me to be the case.
Office of UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, after Israeli entities were included on a United Nations blacklist related to sexual violence in conflict zones, alongside groups such as Hamas and ISIS. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon, has said the Israeli mission would cut off all contact with Guterres' office while he remains in the position. He has also accused the UN of placing Israel on the same blacklist as Hamas, ISIS, and terrorist organizations, calling the move a moral disgrace. Israeli officials said that they had spent months engaging with UN representatives and submitted documents and responses contesting the allegations before the blacklist was finalized. Despite that, the UN has retained Israeli entities in the report. The development marks another sharp escalation in already strained ties between Israel and the United Nations since the October 7, 2023 attacks and the Gaza war, with repeated clashes over civilian casualties, humanitarian access, and international investigations. I welcome back our guest, Mr. Dan Perry. He's an international affairs expert, joins us live from Berlin. Thank you very much, Mr. Perry, for staying with us. Mr. Perry, what more can you tell us about this latest strain, another strike between UN and Israeli relations?
Israel's relations with Secretary General Guterres have been extremely bad because the Israeli government believes that Guterres has not the foggiest notion of what they're dealing with when they're fighting Hamas. And I do not know the exact truth between the allegations of sexual violence in Israeli prisons. Prisons are miserable places, and horrible violence occurs all over the world in prisons. I don't have the facts. Israel denies the claims, and I tend to believe that as a democratic country with a Supreme Court that's quite independent and very liberal, it probably isn't state policy. But again, I have to have some humility here because I wasn't in the room. But the idea that Israel is in some way presented as equivalent to Hamas and ISIS that are absolutely satanic, demonic, diabolical embodiment of evil. This is like a cartoon of what you have to do if you want Israel to just lose all hope in dealing with you. And therefore, that's what happened. The UN is increasingly seen as problematic by not just the current right-wing Israeli government, which I'm a huge critic of and which does most things wrong, in my opinion, but all Israelis. I mean, they look at the fact that the UN Human Rights Council, for some of its sessions, pays more attention to the admittedly ugly situation in the West Bank. But more time is spent on that than the entirety of the rest of the world. When you have massacres and genocides in Darfur, and you have North Korea, and you have Iran, executing gay people. I mean, the idea that Israel is presented as a be-all and end-all of evil on the planet
Yes.
is, as I said before, a bit of a cartoon, and this is the result.